Hey there, Lightbulb Fun here. Just figured I'd make a short video on a recent acquisition of a computer I got, because I think the computer itself is pretty cool, and there's some interesting facts to go along with it. The computer in question is this machine, which is an iMac G3, as you can see. But it's not any iMac G3. In fact, it's a Flower Power iMac G3. Which is a color option that Apple offered for only one generation of machine, and is pretty rare. I just figured I'd show the machine off and maybe show some capabilities and show its specs and stuff. So yeah, this is the machine. This is the exterior. As you can see, it's in pretty nice condition. It's a bit hard to show you because space is a bit tight around here. But you can see there's a side, and you can see the reason it's called Flower Power is because it's got flower patterns all around the outside of the case, which, according to Steve Jobs, took 18 months for Apple to perfect printing it onto the plastics. So yeah, I got this off eBay for a really nice price. I'm not gonna say what the price was, but certainly much cheaper than what they normally go for. And the seller was really good. He packed it really well, and it's in really nice condition. I mean, even the pram battery in this thing still works. But yeah, so here's the machine, and just go around the other side so we can show you that. As you can see, the ports are down there, and there's the rest of the machine. There's on the back where the power cord is, there's another Apple logo that's pink. I can't show that because it's around the back. But yeah, I figured we'll power on the machine, and I'll show you some of the specifications. Also, the CRT is in really nice health, which is a good thing, because CRTs on these things, they're known to go, so it's nice to get on with a good CRT. And it should be booting into Mac OS 9 in just a moment. As you can see, let's get that in focus. There's our Happy Mac, and it should be booting into Mac OS 9. As you can see, it's got the Flower Power theme set. When you install the colored iMacs like these and the iBooks have a code in the firmware, in the open firmware. There's a property listing right at the root of the device tree that tells macOS what color the machine is. So in this case, obviously, it has the color code for Flower Power, and so macOS on a first install will set that as your theme. So Flower Power wallpaper and associated theme. So let's turn on the mouse here. I've got a wireless mouse attached, as you can see. So let's show off some of the specs. So this is the desktop. This is macOS 9. The CRT, the resolution of the CRT, it's 640 by 480 all the way up to 1024 by 768. And I'll just open up Monitor's control panel, and as you can see, this is the specs. As you can see, the CRT, yeah. So yeah, that's a CRT, and it does millions of colors, and brightness on this thing makes like no difference. It's pretty funny. There's a little bit of change, but there's not much. So I'll show you the rest of the specs of the machine. So you can see, if I open up Apple System Profiler, so you can see that it came to me with 320 megabytes of RAM. But I upgraded it to 1 gig. I have some nice 512 megabyte SD RAM sticks that I keep around for nice machines. So obviously I put a couple in here because this is a really nice computer. So yeah, it's got a gig of RAM. It's got a 500 megahertz PowerPC G3. And it's got a Rage 128 Pro graphics with 8 megabytes of VRAM, which I'll just show you here and drop that on the display. And as you can see there, there's 8 megs of VRAM, and it runs pretty nicely. It runs pretty good for 500 megahertz G3. I've also got Tiger on this machine, which I'll demonstrate in a little bit. It's a dual boot. Now, the interesting thing about these iMacs is this model. The if I remember correctly, this is the early 2001 model. See, the early 2001 those iMacs were sold all over the world. But apparently the ones in the US of the same spec as like this. So 500, if you were to buy a 500 megahertz flower power iMac in the US, it actually had it was actually slightly faster, had a different CPU, and I think on some of them they had the Rage 128 Ultra graphics, whereas this has got the Rage 128 Pro, and on the US ones they had a G3, but it was a G3 750CX, which was a G3 that had 256K of L2 cache that was on die and running at the speed of the CPU, so 500 megahertz on die cache really fast, whereas these machines used a normal 750 with a backside, as in an external L2 cache chip on the backside, because it used to go on the backside of the car, and so at 512K backside L2 running at half the speed, so not as fast. You got double the cache, but the cache wasn't as fast as the US ones, and you got the slow graphics. And also, as a consequence of this, which I'll also show you, a US 500 megahertz firepower iMac has a model identifier PowerMac 41, whereas this machine, this non-US one, has a model identifier of PowerMac 2,2, which was like the one before it, because this still has the normal 750 chip with the backside L2 cache, and not the revised 750 with the built-in cache. So yeah, that's a pretty interesting little fun fact. Another cool thing about that is the 750, the regular 750, is pin compatible and fully compatible with the G4 7400 and the 7410. So it's possible, and upgrade manufacturers like third-party people used to do this back in the day, where you could desolder the G3 off the motherboard. It's a BGA 360-pin BGA thing, and they would heat gun that off, reflow it off, and then they would put on a G4 and obviously reflow it back on, and then you would have a G4 iMac G3, if that makes any sense. It's pretty cool, and so this is normally you wouldn't be able to do that with a flower power iMac in the US, but the European ones you could do that if you wanted to, which is pretty cool. So yeah, this is it running OS 9. That's pretty smooth. I mean, I've got Quake on here, I believe. Yeah. Got Quake 3. I just installed that like today. I really don't know how to play it. I never had a chance to play Quake back in the day. But yeah, it runs pretty well, better than I was expecting. It's a bit hard for me to demonstrate with a camera in one hand. Yeah, I got Quake on here, and yeah, Classzilla, of course, and system profiler. Now, yeah, so let's reboot into OS 10, and I'll show you how it runs in OS 10. So I'll just go to startup disk. There we go. I go to network. I go to Macintosh HD. And wait for it to refresh. There we go. Restart. Now it reboots OS 9 really quickly. There we go. CRT degaussed. And it should be. Let's just get this in focus. Booting up. Yes. The speakers on these iMacs are really nice. Apparently they're made by Harman Kardon, and they're really nice speakers. Like really nice. I'm not an audio person by any stretch of the imagination. And I heard that people who own these machines, they said, "Oh, the speakers are really nice." I was like, all right, I acknowledge them. But then when I finally got this iMac, I can really see what they're saying. They do sound really nice, especially they don't look like, they don't look like much. At least, although I don't know, I'm not a speaker expert. So here it is boosting into Tiger. As you can see, it's pretty speedy for a 500 megahertz machine. As you can see, I got a game on here that I'll demonstrate in a little bit. See, it's alright, It's relatively smooth. It's not the smoothest thing in the world, but I've seen much worse. So you can see, there you go. If I press F9, there you go. So yeah, let's go to About This Mac and look at the specs of the machine. About This Mac. And there you go. Hard drive in this thing's original, 20 gig hard drive. That's really loud, at least the head is. And I'll show you that in system profile. But as you can see, 10411, 500 megahertz power PCG3, 1 gig of RAM that I fitted, and the CRT is making the camera go nuts. Yay. Let's go to more information, and you'll see what I mean by the model identifier being PowerMac 2,2. If you were to look up, like every, for example, Mac Tracker, for example, only shows the US spec of this, so it says Power Mac 4.1, whereas this says Power Mac 2.2. And if you remember when I mentioned the color code in open firmware, that's a good way to verify that if your iMac has ever had a logic board swap, that the color code won't match up, or probably won't match up with the color code, the actual color of the case. That's how I verified that nobody had swapped the logic board in this Flower Power iMac for anything during its previous owners, because the color code on the open firmware it's still the Flower Power color code, and there is no way, without getting into lots of nitty gritty, there's no way feasibly for anybody to change that code. So yeah, so you can see a PowerPC 750. That's the non-Apple name for a G3. 1 gig of RAM, 512K of cache over here. And it came to me running a firmware 4.1.3, and I updated it to 4.1.9, just to make sure, be on the safe side. ATA, and this I'll show you. It's got a CDRW drive. No, I would have liked a DVD drive, but beggars can't be choosers. Which works, and it actually ejects discs properly. I know the slot loading drives of this time can sometimes have problems ejecting discs, but this one ejects them just fine. As you can see, it's a Master Shooter. CDRW, and it's got a hard drive, and the manufacturer model is 2 head. I've never heard of that before. Don't know who actually made it. I've not pulled the machine apart, and I don't plan to anytime soon. I mean, it works fine. But yeah, 20 gig hard drive original to the machine. Audio, Apple Screamer. No Bluetooth, of course. No diagnostics. No disc burning. Burn CDs. No fiber channel, of course. It's got FireWire. Graphics and displays, as you can see, ATI Rage 128 Pro, iMac VRAM, and the CRT. It actually has a proper EDID, which is nice. 1024 by 768, 75 Hertz. We got a memory. As you can see, there's the memory. 1 gig RAM runs pretty nice. No PCI cards and USB. So yeah, this is the iMac. See, there's display options up there. That's the resolution options I have, and you can see there. It runs pretty good. So yeah, I'll just quit this, and I'll just demonstrate the system a bit more. I mean, it runs nice. I can open system preferences, pretty quickly. Hard drive clicks away, and there we are. I can just quit. So let's play a game, shall we? So I'll fire up Marble Blaster Gold, which was a game that was included on Macs during 2005 and so, and you'll be able to hear what the speakers are like. I've got the settings 800 by 600 at 16 bits color, because this game's a little new for this machine, but it manages. So I'll just play here. I'm still working on beating this level, but we'll just show this for demonstration purposes. So we'll hit the speakers, and I'll try and play this game with one hand.
Ready, set, go!
So you can see, it's not the smoothest thing in the world, but it picks up after a while.
Super jump.
1 second. Trying to do this with one hand is easier said than done. Oh no, never mind. But yeah, that's a demonstration of the game. It runs pretty well. Considering it's only a Rage 128 Pro. I mean, Apple milked that card in the iMacs. They really, back in 1999 when the card came out, sure it was fast, but by the time the iMac was discontinued, the iMac G3 was discontinued in 2003, it was not fast at all. Yeah, there you go. There's a visual capability, visual demonstration of the capabilities of the machine. Let me just jump off here. Whee! There we go. So I'll just quit the game. As you can see, that's how it runs. I did Geekbench it, and I'll just show it here. Just open the result in Geekbench. I uploaded this to my Geekbench account, so you can see it there. It just loads. Don't check. Laid up. And the hard drive clicks away like mad. So you can see 241. A fun thing a fun test I did was I ran this same benchmark. I have a 500 megahertz iBook G3, but that's only got 320 megs of RAM. And when you run Geekbench on that, So it goes through the CPU test fine, but then the moment it hits memory, it runs out of memory because 320 megs of RAM is not much. So it pages the hard disk, and the hard drive is just sitting there clicking away. And Geekbench on the 500 megahertz iBook took like an hour and 40 minutes to complete, but this machine was like done in under 10 minutes just because it didn't run out of RAM. And the iBook G3 got a score of 139. This got a score of 241, despite having the same clock CPU and stuff. Oh, that's just a fun little thing. As you can see, 241. Yeah, it runs pretty good. Yeah, just quit that. As you can see, I got a bunch of stuff on the desktop because there's no downloads folder in Tiger. I've not made one. And let's run OpenMark, which is a graphics card benchmark. And I just opened that, and you'll see Rage 128 Pro OpenGL engine, OpenGL version 1.1, and that's the driver version. And let's run the benchmark. Run benchmark. This will be over in like 3 seconds. It will stop once it hits 9 FPS, but 9 frames per second. As you can see. Hard drive clicking away there. As the balls go around. 30, 22. Yeah. Another thing about these iMacs is there's no fan in them. It's completely convection cooled, where all the hot air comes out of this part, and you really actually do feel the hot air rise from that part, which is pretty cool. And if you spin down the hard disk or fit an SSD, if you can do that. It is a completely silent machine apart from like the hard drive and the DVD drive because there's no fan in there. And as you can see, it got a score of 139, which is what I got last time. This benchmark is really repeatable. It's a really good benchmark. So yeah, that's not high by any means. I mean, for reference, an ATI Radeon 9800 Pro, for example, gets like 9,000, which just gets 139. So yeah, there you go. As you can see, there is graphics acceleration. There is rendering, but it's 3D on this thing. It's not exactly going to be the fastest thing in the world. As you can see, it's a little like. But yeah, there you go. I mean, I wouldn't try. In Safari, the web is pretty slow. It's not too bad, and I've not put 10.4 Fox on here, but it'd probably be really damn slow. But yeah, it's pretty good. It's a nice machine, and like I said, the speakers are really good. It plays DVD and plays CDs fine. I don't have a DVD drive. I'd like to get one at some point. But yeah, so this is my Flower Power iMac G3. As you can see, Flower Power, and just thought I'd demonstrate this machine. Yeah, it's a pretty nice machine, and I'm really happy with it. It's a nice addition to my small collection of older Macs. As you can see. Oh, so this is Lightbulb Fun, and lights out.